News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KBNU.
KBNU News Time is 4:03. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by Logan Extermination. A 37-year-old Logan man has been sentenced to serve more than a year in jail for assaulting a woman repeatedly 2 years ago. Courtney Edward Wood, who was previously convicted of beating a woman and threatening to shoot her, was ordered to serve more than 15 months, but given credit for the time already served since being arrested October 24th, 2022. Wood was sentenced Monday in Logan's First District Court. He previously accepted a plea deal, pleading guilty to 3 counts of attempted aggravated assault, amended to a third-degree felony. According to prosecutors, a woman contacted Logan City police officers on October 3rd, 2022, explaining how Wood had abused her multiple times during the past year. During one incident, she described how he pushed her against the wall by her neck and lifted her off the ground. The woman explained how he would also strike and pull her hair, pin her to the ground, and lock her inside their residence. She described a pattern of emotional abuse and how Wood would control her. During another incident, the woman described how Wood held her down by the neck and covered her mouth and nose as she screamed for help. She explained how he knocked her unconscious during another assault. Judge Angela Fonsbeck told Wood this type of behavior cannot continue. She advised him to take responsibility and change his actions. Wood was sentenced to 477 days in jail while being given credit for time already served. He will be on probation for the next 36 months and also be required to complete substance and domestic violence treatment. KBNU News Time is 4:05. KBNU weather for tonight, mostly cloudy, a slight chance of rain showers, thunderstorms, and snow showers this evening. Then partly cloudy after midnight, low in the upper 20s. A partly cloudy day on Wednesday, high around 50. Then by late Wednesday night, showers come back, rain showers in the forecast around 50 degrees on Thursday. It's been to 41 so far. It's 40 right now at KBNU. The Duct Hunter reminds you, change your furnace filter every 3 months. Your furnace will run more efficiently. To clean your ducts, give the Duct Hunter a call at 435-770-4813.
The bugs love the good weather. I'm guessing you have a bunch of those creepy crawlers waiting patiently to come into your cozy home. Let Logan Extermination take care of those unwanted pests with a monthly exterior spray. Now, for a limited time, they'll spray your home's exterior monthly from April to October for only $65 per month for a 2,000 square foot or less home. Call Logan Extermination before your home becomes enemy territory. Logan Extermination, 752-8450.
KBNU News Time is 4:06. A new degree program being developed across Utah's system of higher education institutions would allow students to graduate with a bachelor's degree in just 3 years. The Bachelor of Applied Studies degree, approved during the Utah Board of Higher Education's meeting last week, would have a minimum completion requirement of 90 credits. This differs from the current standard of 120 credits needed for existing 4-year bachelor's degrees. The system of higher education said the hope for this program is to provide students with more options and faster pathways into careers. In a statement, Aaron Sconnard with the Utah Board of Higher Education said that this exciting change in policy opens the door to innovation on campuses and allows each institution to develop proposals for 3-year bachelor's degree programs. And a new Gallup survey measuring church attendance shows that members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints have the highest rate of church attendance among religious groups. 2/3 of Latter-day Saints attend church weekly or nearly weekly. The rate has stayed most steady over time. Nearly half of Protestants, including non-denominational Christians, 44%, said they attend services regularly. 38% of Muslims, 33% of Catholics, and 22% of Jews said the same. KBNU News Time is 4:07. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com.
Get your news from KVNU 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent with Alpine Home Medical. This is a story that came to us from a real customer, and I wanted to share it with you.
I'm a new CPAP user. The only thing I knew about CPAP when I walked in the door was that I didn't want to wear one. The introductory class with the respiratory therapist at Alpine was great. I left feeling confident and less intimidated by the whole process.
We love hearing about your experiences. Visit us online at alpinehomemedical.com.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
Hello, I'm Garrett Tanner, Operations Manager at Cache Valley Bank. With 20 years of banking experience, I strive to use my knowledge to help small businesses overcome any challenges they may face, no matter how complex. My customers are important to me, and I take a genuine interest in understanding their lives. Come visit me at our mall branch or give me a call. I'd love to get to know you and show you what opening an account at Cache Valley Bank can do for you. Cache Valley Bank, member FDIC.
Hi, this is Gordon Deal. Wednesday on This Morning, America's First News. There are many questions to be answered after the partial collapse of the Key Bridge in Baltimore after a cargo ship slammed into it. We'll have the latest. Also, there are signs that Israeli forces are struggling to meet their goal of eliminating Hamas. Will Gaza wind up being an endless war? And states trying to pay teachers more to keep them from quitting. Wednesday on This Morning, America's First News. From 4 to 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM. Your station for news and talk.
There are those who dedicate themselves to a sense of honor, to a life of courage, and a commitment to something greater than themselves. They have always defended this nation and each other. They still do. The few, the proud, the Marines. Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps demonstrate their commitment to defend the American way of life. Since 1775, wherever the mission takes us, we always remember the land we call home. As Marines, we take a stand for our nation, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Hi, I'm Dr. Shelley Flace with today's tip for kids from the American Academy of Pediatrics. Parents make all kinds of choices about their child's health. One important way you can protect your child's health is with vaccines. Viruses and bacteria are unpredictable, and even healthy children can develop severe complications.
I'm all done.
By vaccinating, you can feel good that you're doing everything you can to protect your child from harmful diseases. If you have questions about your child's vaccines, talk with your pediatrician and visit healthychildren.org.
For the people.
We are waiting with bated breath for news from the Cache Republican Party meeting an executive committee tonight.
With Jason Williams.
And I'm really excited about this next segment. We have two guests here in studio. We're going to talk about something that we've talked about many times here on the show, but from a bit of a different angle.
Weekday afternoons from 4 till 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People, hour one of today's show. It's winter again here in Cache Valley, or it was there for a bit. Might be spring again tonight, and then winter again in the morning.
This time of year, if you don't like the weather, just wait 5 minutes, and you'll get something entirely different.
A little summer tomorrow afternoon, then winter again tomorrow night. It's kind of how it's going. Appreciate everyone tuning in today. We have a lot to get to, so we're going to jump right in. We'll be joined later on this hour by Keri Smith, representing the Northern Utah chapter of the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. They have a big event coming up this Saturday at the Cache County Event Center. That is an opportunity for you to get out and support them. And we'll also talk to them about what, not this winter, but last winter, did to elk and deer populations here in northern Utah. So Keri Smith joining us at the bottom of the hour right here to start things off today. We have a very special guest joining us to talk about what he's been up to, which is actually quite a bit, and we'll get to that. Joining us now by phone from Washington, D.C., Congressman Blake Moore. And Congressman Moore, I appreciate you taking some time for KVNU today. It's a little difficult for all of you now because the schedule there is pretty hectic, and times off are suddenly canceled, and times on are suddenly canceled, and trying to get a lot of things done. And so we do appreciate you making some time for us today. What's going on out there?
What's going on out there? That's a great question.
Big general question to start us off.
But the point, you make a good point because, we did have some of our schedule change, which you've always got to be willing to accept as part of the gig. But, Speaker Johnson, we've been, over the last 4 or 5 months, we've been working really hard to negotiate the best possible appropriations package. And so we set some deadlines, and in order to meet those deadlines, we had to add a few extra days back in there. And it's just, it surprises me, even, 3 years into this gig and under my 4th year in this role, that our most basic function becomes this difficult. This bill that we passed, this appropriations package that we passed last Friday, it is like the bare bones of the simple things that we should be doing. 75% of this bill is what is all related to the defense appropriations world. And, and that should be something that is not that difficult to get to a finality on. But, there's always politics involved in all this nonsense, and we were able to get it done. And I think Speaker Johnson did a really good job negotiating. We're in split government right now, so, you don't get everything that you want. Sure. But Hill Air Force Base is an incredibly important part of 1st District, and we were able to have some significant key wins related to the F-35 and Sentinel programs and military troop pay increases, things like that. So this is something that we're glad to be done with and in the rearview mirror, because it was FY24 budget. We're already halfway through the year. This should be done in the fall. But we decided to oust our speaker for no real reason at all, other than for some attention-getting opportunities. And we lost track. We were able to lose a lot of momentum that we were kind of trying to finalize this process last fall. So.
And how does this affect, because these big budget negotiations and things are sort of all hands on deck. Nobody gets a choice. You have to be involved, right? But how does this affect individual items that you're working on as a single member of the House? You have, of course, your own bills, your own issues that you're working on. Do those have to be set aside every time the budget process gets like this? Is there a concern that we're doing this too often?
Yeah, well, there's the issue. The entire appropriations process of the budget, that you say, we got to fund do the appropriations budget, got to fund the government. It is $1.5 to $1.6 trillion, which is a huge number. But guess what? It's only 1/4 of our entire budget. The other side, the $4.5 trillion, we don't even vote on. These are programs that get established in our history, and again, big programs like Social Security and Medicare, Medicaid. Obviously, interest on the debt that we pay. These are the big ticket items that are causing all of our debt. But because we don't vote on them, no one can ever criticize anybody. So everybody has to just hyper-focus on this tiny little portion of the budget that is really more than half of it is all defense spending, which should be every Republican be willing to support, but is not the case anymore. Then it's like an opportunity to criticize others and everything. And the part that drives me nuts is, hey guys, it's 67 to actually now 71% of all of government spending isn't even voted on, and it's done in a mandatory way. And that's the part that really infuriates me, and that's the stuff that we're working on the Ways and Means Committee to actually, figure out a way to address that. We just did the Debt Commission, and so as I'm watching the budget process, appropriation side, I'm like, we actually did something really great. We haven't done it in 10 years. Just because we have the majority, the Republicans have the majority in the House, we were able to increase defense spending and decrease non-defense spending. That should be something to celebrate, but, people like to, nip at this or that wasn't everything that we wanted to do. Yeah, it wasn't everything that we passed out of the House, but as it goes through the Senate process too, we still kept that main win of increasing defense, lowering non-defense, but all the while we've got growing debt on the other side of the budget items, the mandatory side of the spending that never gets addressed, and we're trying to force that to happen. I have a specific bill that would require Congress to take into consideration the entirety of the budget. Seems like a novel idea, right?
Sure.
Seems like the most basic idea. And then another bill is the debt commission that would create the recommendations on how to deal with our major debt drivers and force a vote on it. And that's something that, we've done out of the other the committees that I'm on. So, yes, those are the things that drive me nuts that we should be focused more heavily on. But the appropriation sucks up all the oxygen out of the room when it's really a program that's pretty well run. The growth rate isn't that high, and we have to support defense. We have to, support our veterans. And the fact that you get criticized for supporting defense and veterans in an appropriations process is just beyond me. Not something I expected when I came to this role.
This is, again, for those following along, something that is just the nature of D.C. right now. And Congressman Moore, it's fascinating for me to watch, despite all this, that you're staying very busy with other things, other issues you're working on as well. In fact, there was a great, let me find this, Standard Examiner had a great write-up of a trip you took out here with a congressman from California, someone who'd been involved in lake restoration efforts in Owens Lake in California. And you did a Great Salt Lake tour and kind of put a spotlight on water conservation efforts here in the state. How does that sync with work at the federal level? How much can be done to jog things along here in Utah on that front?
The important part about that visit, I visited his district in California. He visited mine. He and I have a very good working relationship, and we find ways to try to solve problems back there. He's one of very few Democrats on the budget committee that voted for the debt commission bill. And, he's somebody that is trying his best within his own party to make it make their thought process more fiscally responsible. And so, when you're in this world back in Congress that you have a 1 to 2 seat majority in the House of Representatives, like it's a 50-50 split basically.
Sure.
And we've got to find ability to trust and work together so we can better solve the big problems. And the Senate's the same way. They actually force bipartisan vote. You can't pass anything out of the Senate unless it's bipartisan. And so I need honest brokers and my Democrat colleagues back in Washington that I can trust, that I can go work with, and we can try to find some common ground. And he and I have several bills that we're working on related to. He supported the Great Salt Lake bill that I did, but we also do some other things called like the Lodge Act and Range Access Act that are more outdoor recreation related that are really good efforts as well.
And you've said, Congressman, when it comes to water, that you feel strongly that these decisions should be left up to the states, but that Congress can, with targeted funding, help grease wheels and get balls moving and things like that. We recently had Brian Steed, the Great Salt Lake Commissioner and Executive Director of the USU's Institute of Land, Water, and Air, on the show, and he sung your praises. He said that you'd been great to work with them and with the state on getting some funding for water studies, and that is pretty key moving forward, right? We have to know what we're working with in the first place. But again, you say, this is Congress should keep their role limited to this, right? Targeted funding to help states do the job.
Yep, absolutely. The bill that we had done, it helps do some monitoring and evaluating through the U.S. Geological Survey, and it will create the data that's necessary to better, I would say, evaluate what the needs could be. The state will use that information to best appropriate their own resources towards it. Brian Steed is a product of Utah State. Utah State has some of the best water research groups that are working on these really important matters. It's another point of pride to the Cache Valley region about what they're providing to the state with regards to expertise. and we just have to make sure that we work in that, that marble cake federalism philosophy, that there's involvement from all levels. But the federal government's not going to come in and fix this. The state representatives from all over the eastern seaboard are not going to be like, why would I be appropriating too much time and effort onto a random lake in Utah? Like, they're not going to necessarily get that. They do get, though, big major ecosystems and the entire Great Basin region. And that's the fight that we had to make sure people understood that this was a really key, important thing, and it's entire Western United States issue, not just local to Salt Lake. And that was that was some of the wins that we had with that. So thanks for focusing on it. This was,
Again, Brian Steed just very excited to see that move ahead. And he said something himself that echoed a comment you'd made that stuck in my head. A few weeks ago, you'd made the comment that when it comes to water, land, air quality, things like that, when the conversation's happening in D.C., your observation is there's oftentimes less of a Republican and Democrat split, and almost more of an east side of the country and west side of the country split, that a lot of the representatives in Congress there from the eastern half of the country don't understand what we're dealing with here in the West. Could you expand on that a little bit? That comment stuck in my head.
If you take a representative from New Jersey, they've never even understood the concept of public lands. They are able to use most of their state. Their county commissioners can go and put in a development project that generates revenue through property taxes, things like that. They don't even really understand that there's this whole concept where 65% of your state could be owned via federal public lands, where you are really hamstrung in your ability to use your resources and generate the revenue needed to pay for the services that you provide. And so you have something called PILT payments, and you have, like we have here in Utah, SITLA. Like the eastern representatives, they don't necessarily get that. And you'll sit down and talk to them, and then they're like, "Oh, okay, that's put you at a major disadvantage." I get it. But politically, they're not that interested in necessarily voting to address it or to help the Western United States, have the option to improve their situation. And so it's just a tricky aspect. You have sparser density out here, and so you just don't have the sheer numbers to be able to get something through. Most things, though, of course, still get placed on partisan lines, any of the major things that you'll hear about. But, it's just one of those realities that we deal with. Every member of Utah's state legislature, understands this concept. Sure. It's just a little different when you're dealing with an entire nation. So.
Congressman Moore holding a series of events that you can engage with him on in the upcoming weeks. April 17th, Congressman Moore hosting a teletown hall. That will be at 12:30 p.m. And then a few weeks after that, he'll actually be with us for an hour-long radio town hall, first part of May. But in between those in-person events, you can always get in touch with the Congressman's office. Very easy to do. blakemore.house.gov, constituent service information there as well. Even a form for everything from appropriations to project requests that you might want to have an idea sent to the Congressman. You can do that at blakemore.house.gov. And Congressman, last question here for you. Back to the budget a little bit. You issued recently a press release, and this unfortunately kind of flew under the radar. But the House Budget Committee really had a resolution for the fiscal year 25, this debate that is and just played out. And you said, when it comes to debt, you've got the commission that you've talked about there. And to paraphrase your words, you basically said, look, we know how to fix this. Why aren't we? And do you ever get a response to that question?
No, it gets marred down in all of the drama of very, very split government. The Republicans have, with our budget committee, and we're trying to lead the charge on setting the resolution, so we have sort of a framework and a goal in which that we want to accomplish. Now, this is a 10-year balanced budget, we all wish it were sooner, but we didn't get here overnight either. And so we're trying to just start chipping away back at that direction and do it in a responsible but reasonable and actually obtainable way. We won't be able to accomplish what we want with the current administration. Democrats have a different viewpoint on debt. They want to see tax revenues increased, and we want to see economic growth factors take place, both of which are designed to raise revenues to help pay for the services that are done, from defense to transportation to Social Security, Medicare, all those big programs. We want the revenue to pay for it. We just disagree on how you go about getting that revenue, and that's where the big rub is. We want to make deeper cuts to current government spending. Democrats aren't going to allow for as many. They did relent and allow for a lot of that non-defense discretionary to be cut this year. And so that was a small win, but a win regardless. And when you're in a tiny majority and a 1/2 of 1/3 of government, I consider it. You got to take those opportunities when you get them. But the point is, there's differences in how you approach it, and you got to be strong politically to win elections to be able to implement this plan as much as possible. It's going to take a lot of discipline, and it's going to take the right political environment, but I'm willing to work on it as much as I possibly can to get us in a different fiscal situation.
Glad you're out there as a voice for Utah in the 1st Congressional District. And Congressman Moore, appreciate you taking some time for us today. I've taken more than we asked for already. I seem to do that every time we have you on, so apologies. But thank you for making the time. And again, for listeners, Congressman Moore will be hosting a teletown hall on April 17th. Details on that at his house page, blakemore.house.gov. And then first part of May, he'll be with us here for a radio town hall. Plenty of time and ways for you to engage and interact with Congressman Moore and his office directly via the webpage, blakemore.house.gov again. And once again, our guest has been Congressman Blake Moore from the 1st Congressional District. And Congressman, thank you.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure to have you here on the show. And for listeners, pleasure to have you tuned in as well. Please stay tuned. We'll be back with more and representatives of the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation right after the news with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 4:30. As we take a look at the news this afternoon, brought to you by The Lawn Doctor. A Delta flight over the weekend was cut short after a panel behind one of the engines fell off the plane. The jet was bound for Amsterdam, but it returned to Salt Lake City on Sunday and landed safely 3 hours after taking off. According to information on an FAA database, a part called a pylon panel behind the left side engine detached on takeoff. Pylons attach engines to the wings, and they are covered in panels that are not load-bearing but do improve the plane's aerodynamics. Delta is calling the incident a reported mechanical issue, and it's apologizing to customers for delaying their trips. Utah coach Lynn Roberts says her team experienced a series of racial hate crimes after arriving at its first women's NCAA tournament hotel and was forced to change accommodations during the event for safety reasons. Roberts revealed what happened after Utah lost to Gonzaga in the second round of the NCAA women's basketball tournament. Roberts says it was incredibly upsetting and happened after the team arrived in the Spokane, Washington area for the tournament. There were concerns about safety among the traveling party. Utah was staying about 30 miles away in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and was relocated to a different hotel on Friday. And Luka Doncic had 29 points, 13 assists, and 12 rebounds, and the Dallas Mavericks beat the Utah Jazz 115-105. Kyrie Irving scored 27 points for the Mavericks, who earned their 4th consecutive victory. P.J. Washington had 16 points. Daniel Gafford finished with 13 points and 10 rebounds. Lauri Markkanen made 6 3-pointers and scored 34 points for the Jazz. Markkanen ranks 3rd among NBA 7-footers with 1,001 made 3-pointers for his career in his 7th season. John Collins added 21 points and 11 rebounds for the Jazz, who lost to Dallas for the second time in 5 days. KBNU News Time is 4:33. KBNU weather for tonight. Mostly cloudy skies is our forecast, and a slight chance of rain showers, slight chance of a thunderstorm, and then snow showers this evening. Partly cloudy after midnight, low in the upper 20s, and then kind of an in-between, partly cloudy day tomorrow, high around 50. Southwest winds 10 to 20 miles an hour in the afternoon. And then more showers in the forecast for Thursday. It's been to 41. It's 38 right now at KBNU. Do you want greener, healthier grass this summer? Sign up for the Lawn Doctor's 2 service soil enrichment package. Sign up early and get the second service half off. You can always get more news at CashValleyDaily.com. Let's get this news update followed by a business update brought to you by Edward Jones.
This is a special report from ABC News. Baltimore bridge collapse. I'm Chuck Sievertson. All federal help available is being made in response to the river-spanning Key Bridge collapse in Baltimore, says President Biden.
Personnel on board the ship were able to alert the Maryland Department of Transportation that they had lost control of their vessel, as you all know and reported. As a result, local authorities were able to close the bridge to traffic before the bridge was struck, which undoubtedly saved lives.
Several workers were filling potholes in the bridge when the container ship crashed into a support. 2 are rescued, says Maryland Governor Wes Moore.
This is very much still a search and rescue mission. We are still actively looking for survivors.
Tomorrow, the National Transportation Safety Board will begin to release some information about the crash, says the board's chair, Jennifer Humity. But for now,
not a lot of information that I can share at this time.
This is ABC News. From ABC News, Wall Street now, a down day for the major indexes. The Dow lost 31 points, the S&P down 15, and the Nasdaq lost 69. Analysts say the Baltimore bridge collapse will force ships or their cargo to be rerouted to other ports, potentially creating delays for importers and raising costs. The Trump Media and Technology Group zoomed more than 50% in the first minutes of its debut on the Nasdaq, triggering a brief trading halt because of the volatility. Trump Media's merger with the shell company Digital World Acquisition Corp. was completed Monday. The city of Berkeley, California, has agreed to halt enforcement of a ban on natural gas piping in new homes and buildings that was successfully opposed in court by the California Restaurant Association, according to that organization. Visa and MasterCard announce a major settlement with U.S. merchants to lower and cap the fees they charge and allow small businesses to collectively bargain for rates. Chuck Sievertson, ABC News.
Spring is here and new deals are blooming at Murdoch Volkswagen. Pick your new car at our spring sales event. Everything feels new in spring, so pick a Murdoch VW and drive renewed. Receive 0% for 5 years on a Tiguan or 1.9% for 5 years on an Atlas or Atlas Crossport. When you walk through our doors, you feel like family at Murdoch Volkswagen in Logan or online at murdochvw.com.
Call 866-628-3065 to see dealer for complete details. Offer expires 4/1/24.
Furniture and mattress stores come and go, but there's a reason family-owned and operated UNI Furniture has been here for 95 years. Bring in your tax return. UNI has closeout prices on select mattress models, including some displays. On a budget and looking for a less expensive entry-level mattress? They have it. Want something more supportive to support more weight? UNI has that. Sleep cooler and sleep better on a copper memory foam mattress. UNI sells sheets from Bedgear, a cooler sheet that breathes. That's why there's always a better buy at UNI Furniture, downtown Logan.
It's time to vote in the Best of Northern Utah contest, presented by the Cater Shop Menswear Store. Show some love to your favorite local businesses and cast your vote at thebestofnorthernutah.com. Whether it's your favorite pizza joint, a friendly handyman, or the cleanest car wash in town, we want to know who you think deserves the title of the best. You can vote once per day in multiple categories. Vote now at bestofnorthernutah.com and let your voice be heard.
Best of Northern Utah.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Thanks again to Congressman Blake Moore for taking some time for us today. I wasn't kidding as we wrapped up that interview when I apologized to him. I always say, can we get him for 10, 15 minutes? And they say, yeah, he's got 10 minutes at this time on this day, and then we keep him for half an hour. And he still comes back. So thanks to Congressman Moore for
He can
that.
always say, Jason, a nice conversation, but I got to go.
And if the Speaker of the House complains, you tell him to call me, Congressman Moore. We'll lay the law down. Joining us right now, our second, in this case, set of guests for the hour, because we have an event to talk about. It's coming up this Saturday, March 30th, at the Cache County Event Center. This is an event to benefit the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation and the Northern Utah chapter. Doors open at the event at 5:30 this Saturday, and they're asking everyone to come out, enjoy some food, games, raffles, prizes, and, of course, support the work of the RMEF, Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. And here in the studio with us, we have State of Utah Regional Director Ron Camp and Northern Utah Chapter Chair Keri Smith. And Ron, Keri, I appreciate you joining us today and taking some time to talk about this. It's been a rough, this winter maybe not as much, but it's been a rough little stretch for elk here in Utah, right?
It has been a little bit rough. I think part of the reason being is that most people don't realize that we kind of have weather cycles in this world.
Sure.
And, we have good, the bad, and the ugly. And sometimes
all on the same day.
It's
like
true.
Today.
Like spring in Utah. So there you go. But what happens is that it's kind of nature's way of kind of cooling the herd a little bit as well when we have our super tough winter. The hard part for us is that we're not used to seeing a whole bunch of carcasses on the side of the hill and wondering, what are we doing about that? What can we do about it, or can we help it? At the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, we actually put $50,000 towards feeding the deer up in Garden City. The deer are a lot tougher to maintain in these weathers. That happened that last year because of just their stomach and the ungulates. They actually change as the winter comes on, so they can't eat the same things. They can be 100% full of hay and die.
And
just
still
because,
starve.
Yeah, because they just can't digest it. And so elk are a lot harder that way, and we still lost a lot of elk this last year.
Yeah.
Just because of the fact is the snow was so deep and so hard and so much effort to get to that food source that we lost a lot of animals, and it was sad to see.
It was. We were talking before we started here that driving up the canyon in the spring of 23, I don't think I've ever seen. So you always see the occasional carcass of an animal that's been hit by a vehicle or something on the side of the road, but we're talking just 30, 40 feet up the hillside all along the canyon, elk, deer. Just a tragic thing. And then, of course, this does affect and is noticed by the hunters as they go out the next fall. We heard a lot last fall from hunters saying, they got slammed this year based on what we saw while we were out hunting, or what we didn't see while we were out hunting. And that's part of Utah's careful management of these populations. Can't account for weather, as you mentioned. We do the best to plan for it, but only so much you can do, right?
Well, and that's the kicker right there. Is the fact is that we have so many different things that play a forecast into what our animals are doing, how they are actually building up the herds and these type of things. Over the years, the elk herd has been quite a story in Utah where it's built up, and pretty much at where the Division of Wildlife would like it to keep it within reason, 85,000 animals in Utah. But it's been a long time coming to get to that point, and there's challenges with that. And I think that the hardest part for the average hunter is they don't understand there's not only challenges to supply that number of animals, but also you have agriculture and leases and livestock and other. We have to work hand in hand to make that happen because we have a shared environment on our lands right now, and we've got to make sure that we can support everything that's out there.
Sure.
So the viability of our elk herd has probably never been better. The viability of our deer herd has always been a challenge, and it will continue to be, although I think we're making some strides in some positive ways, and I think we've learned some stuff that is a little bit negative that we probably don't want to repeat again.
Sure.
But we are making some headway, and that's why it's so important for conservation, if I segue back in for the Elk Foundation and other conservation groups, to go ahead and put that money back onto the ground to increase the habitat to help hold that load of animals a little bit better. We'll be going into some meetings here on April 10th with the division and other conservation groups, and I think the Elk Foundation, I think we're probably going to have about between $500,000 and $600,000 to spend on projects just in Utah alone, and that is everything from water projects to clearing up vegetation. In some cases, people don't like to hear it, but prescribed burn. To be honest with you, burns are actually nature's way of taking and cleaning up the forest. It's just that we're just not used to seeing it that way.
Sure.
And they're really great as long as they don't get out of control. But we go over there and we do all that type of projects, and we commit money towards that. And we do that every year, and that is something that we're proud of. We put that money back on the ground. And I kind of segue over to Keri a little bit. That's why we do our banquets. We do our banquets to help raise funds.
So that you can go do this work, right?
Exactly. There's a couple of ways we do that. One is the conservation permit program, and most people are aware of that. We don't have a whole lot of conservation permits that we sell for the state. We do have a fair amount. But we also put, most people may or may not realize that 60% of every dollar that comes in on that conservation permit goes right directly to the projects I'm just talking about.
Sure.
So if somebody buys a big tag and let's say they spent $10,000, $6,000 is going to go right into those projects that we can commit that money to. $3,000 of those dollars go to the DWR that they can put in their plan, and the actual conservation group only keeps 10% for overhead. And so I like to always clear that up when we have the opportunity to do that, because I think people have this idea that these conservation groups are making a lot of money on these tags.
Sure.
To be honest with you, the money is being made for the animals and not necessarily for the groups.
And that, again, is going in to benefit elk and other wildlife through habitat management and restoration, and also, other things, too. I know. So on this flyer here for the event, this is interesting because I know that the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation gets involved in this a lot. It's a recognition that this is elk populations are not this independent thing. It's tied to our ecology, of course, their populations, but outdoor recreation, hunting, quality of life in the state. And I think we're doing a better job of starting to connect all those dots in our heads as residents of the state. You have a bonus deal for listeners here today. You can get 20% off of a hunting lesson from an expert hunter through the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation and the organization Outdoor Class. Outdoorclass.com. When you go in to purchase hunting lessons from these experts, use the code RMEF, Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, and get 20% off. So it pays to listen. But this is for anyone out there, so spread the word on that, and please spread the word on the this weekend upcoming event to benefit the foundation. The Northern Utah chapter hosting a Dutch oven dinner. I can't believe I didn't mention the Dutch oven part when I started the segment. I should have said that first. Dutch oven dinner will be served at 7 p.m. this Saturday, but doors open at 5:30 at the Cache County Event Center in this benefit for the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. They have prizes, raffles, games, food, of course, as I mentioned. Dutch oven dinner served at 7. For information, you can call Keri. He's here in the studio with us at 232-5294. And also, I will post a screenshot of this QR code you can scan off of our Facebook page for more information on that and to get your tickets for the event. And we have more to come. Our guests here in the studio, State of Utah Regional Director of the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, Ron Camp, and Northern Utah Chapter Chair Keri Smith in the studio, 753-5868. If you have a question, we'll be back right after this.
Renegade Rentals in Brigham City is hosting a Demo Days open house this Friday. Stop for lunch, 2 hours only, 11 to 1 for burgers and drinks on Renegade Rentals. Check out the latest from Echo, Hustler, and Toro with reps on site to demonstrate and answer all your questions. Whether you're tackling a do-it-yourself project or professional job, Renegade Rentals has the tools you need to get it done right. Don't miss out. Renegade Rentals in Brigham City, Friday, 11 to 1. 75 North 500 West in Brigham for Demo Days at Renegade Rentals.
Wednesday edition, Clay Travis, Buck Sexton Show. Donald Trump's stock is soaring. Truth Social will continue to put that in context. as we figure out all of the latest legal maneuverings. Plus, Buck.
Looking at the crime situation in New York City, some high-profile homicides have people wondering, when are Democrats going to get things under control, if ever? We'll discuss that. Plus, Dave McCormick is joining on Clay and Buck.
10 to 1 on News Talk KVNU, 102 FM and 610 AM.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Speaking here in the studio with guests from the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, we have with us Ron Camp, who's the State of Utah Regional Director of the Foundation, and Keri Smith, Northern Utah Chapter Chair. We've been talking about the effect of the last, not this winter, the past, on elk populations, how elk populations tie into the ecology and the health of other wildlife populations and more. They're an integral part of our ecology here in northern Utah, to say the least, but they're also part of our way of life, part of our recreational choices, part of our, the character of what it means to live in northern Utah, and they need help. And so the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation is here to provide some of that through habitat restoration and management, assisting with other wildlife as well that can benefit the elk long term, and of course preserving and educating on hunting heritage here in northern Utah as well. So again, if you can get out to this event, it's Saturday, March 30th at the Cache County Event Center. I've posted a screenshot of a QR code you can scan right off your screen for ticket information, or you can call Keri at 435-232-5294. Also, they have prizes, raffles, food, Dutch oven dinner served at 7 Saturday night at the Cache County Event Center. And again, everything going to benefit the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. Is this correct? Celebrating 40 years? Is that, right there, yeah.
Yes, this is the 40th year of RMEF, and we're going to highlight that with some of our prizes and things. We'll have that logo on it this year, the 40th year
That's
edition.
Pretty amazing.
It is pretty cool, and that's one of the reasons I got involved with this. I was starting a wildlife degree up at Utah State and kind of ran into a life choices and life's spots, and anyway,
I get that.
I'm an eternal junior, you might say, and I get to live that through this volunteer opportunity. But I noticed that what they do is put their money where their mouth is, and they, this money goes to those projects, and I really admire that. And it takes the public to help us raise that money, and so
sure.
I just wanted to, bring Ron on and talk about what we do for the state, and that the money goes to what it says it goes to, and it's not used otherwise. So
that is. We do have a question coming from a listener here via the chat, the Google chat. Listener wants to know if there's an opportunity for businesses to sponsor or donate, even if they can't attend an event. That's a great question.
Yeah, I'd love for them to get a hold of me for that 232-5294 number. As the chairman, I can handle that, and there is some sponsorship opportunities. Just to mention some of our local sponsors that have bought corporate sponsorships or even just donated to the banquet recently that helped provide some of these prizes. I just wanted to mention some of those: Sharp Trucking, Central Milling, Blackstone Products, Mountain Valley Blinds, the Corral Family, Les Schwab, Intermountain Cooling, Pride Silk Screen and Embroidery, Cal Ranch, Al's, IFA. The list goes on and on.
That's nice.
I mean, these are local people, and if you support them, they're supporting us. So turn around and come do the same thing. Or when you walk into those places, I mean, Jarek's, Fine Jewelry, Pepsi, Box Drop, all of these places donate to us or do something. And yes, I'd love for anyone to get a hold of me, and we can take a donation. We can do lots of things with that sponsorship, cool. and talk to them about that and how we can recognize them at the banquet as well as here on the radio. We're grateful for them. The Cache County Event Center is a big help to us. The Hunter Education Center is a big help to us.
Sure.
All these places are places I wanted to mention. Valley Implement, the Eccles Ice Center, Cache Honda Yamaha. anyway, these are
Very nice.
these are all people who have turned around and are local in our community. And then, Ron started with some of the things, but I saw one of the projects was Cinnamon Creek was bought using a lot of Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation money. And I've gone down, I've helped with a couple of guzzler projects in the state of Utah that
really?
put in water guzzlers that I was amazed, and it was all volunteer help, but the money that we raised at our banquets actually went to something, and I got to be a part of it, even though I volunteered my time for the manual labor part of it. My money went to, buying the tank and the tarp and the apron and the things that went into making this guzzler and making our Utah desert a viable place for wildlife to have water. And
sure.
It was an amazing process to me that, I could see it come from the banquet side of things and the money just turn around and then be used. And then I got to volunteer and help use that money type of thing. It was a real neat experience. And I've done that for 2 or 3 years now that I've gone
That's
down
so
and helped
cool.
with a couple of those projects. But
those guzzlers are amazing. I'm shocked that they learn to use them.
They do very fast, actually.
That amazes me.
Usually within, once it's filled up and it rains, they're there. It's amazing how fast they find them. I was just going to make a quick comment, too, on the Cinnamon Creek. We're really proud in Utah that we use conservation permit funds to help fund some of that, but we also put $260,000 of Utah, what I call banquet earned money, into that actual acquisition. That was for 8,100 acres that was acquired not only by it was finalized by the state of Utah and turned over now to the state of Utah for public use.
Oh, wow.
And so that's one of the other big missions that Keri was talking about too, is we are all about access and allowing the public to have access to be able to hunt and do other recreational opportunities. And so it's not just that we're raising funds just for projects. We raise funds not only for that, we also do conservation easements.
Yeah.
And work a lot with ranchers and different things where we have a lot of people that are, I call land rich and maybe cash poor a little bit.
Sure.
And they want to keep that property in the family. It's been in there for 100 years or so. And so we try to work with them to develop a plan, especially when it makes a big difference on elk and other wildlife, where they can stay on their property. We can preserve it for over 100 years that will never be developed. And those, especially in critical winter ranges, we're talking about survival. That's an important part of the conservation equation, is trying to get everything we can in that puzzle to put together to allow those animals to actually survive the winter and then produce again for the following year.
I love that word equation because that, again, tying, for a lot of us throughout our day-to-day life, we don't connect a lot of these dots. We get busy and so, a benefit for the elk, but connecting the dots that attending this event Saturday and supporting the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation at the Cache County Event Center, that money goes to these projects, to habitat restoration and habitat preservation, and then you can connect that directly and say, here's an example of doing something to benefit the elk that also preserves what life in Cache Valley is like. Because those conservation easements have been huge for preserving, I think, the character of Cache Valley in a lot of ways. So you're doing it directly to benefit the elk, but that also is why so many of us like living here, that you have these spaces and that you have. So I like connecting these dots. I like hearing that so many local business sponsors have stepped up to support because this is important work and for the most part done sort of behind the scenes. The Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation isn't generating a lot of controversial headlines ever, things like that. But 40 years of this work, critical work, it's very cool to talk about. This is, for listeners, one more time, rmef.org is their website as well. You can see this event and others. You can make a direct donation. You can find out, there's a whole page here at their website dedicated to Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation members and discounts you get. If you're a member of the foundation, you can set up recurring donations and more. And some of these are pretty good deals. I'm going to be signing up as we go between hours here. A lot of the stuff I use, and 25% off that, I'll take it. Northern Utah chapter of the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation hosting a benefit Dutch oven dinner this Saturday at the Cache County Event Center. Again, there's a QR code you can scan on our Facebook page. You can also find the event and register at their website, RMEF, Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, rmef.org. And they have food prizes and more. We've got just 3 minutes left here, but we should mention some of the prizes. Can we, without spoiling anything, can we talk a little bit about what people might walk away with Saturday night?
We have the 40th anniversary banquet rifle, which is a Weatherby.
Wow.
Which is, the Weatherby stood up 40 years ago and actually was the first one to help us and donated a rifle to get us started. And they thought it would be real cool to bring that rifle back. And so that's quite a unique. There's only one of them available per chapter in the whole nation. Currently, we have just under 500 chapters nationwide. I always like to let people know, they say, well, all the overhead. I am the only paid employee in the state of Utah for the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. I volunteered for 20 years before I ever took the job. You don't go to work for a nonprofit because it pays a ton of money.
Yeah, nobody gets rich.
Just so you know. But, that was one of the things, same thing that Keri said. That's what brought us involved in the first place is the mission and what we do. I can just tell you that there's going to be some 40th anniversary firearms there. There's going to be some pretty cool other stuff. We have a real cool banquet knife from Montana Knife Company that will be there. We always have really exclusive Yeti products as well. If you're looking for anything in the outdoors, it's pretty much going to be available. So you want to show up there. Keri, you can add anything because the music playing.
Montana Silversmith buckles are always a hit, and jewelry for the ladies. We have something for the whole family, from kids. We have a kids selection. We have a women's selection. We have a general selection overall. It is a family-friendly event, and we hope you'll bring everybody because we do have prizes from top to bottom, and we're excited to hope to see you there.
Very cool. Again, discounts for members at their website, rmef.org. Set up recurring donations, donate one time. Find out more about this event and others. The event here in Cache Valley, the Northern Utah chapter of the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, hosting a Dutch Oven dinner benefit this Saturday, March 30th, at the Cache County Event Center. Doors open at 5:30. Games, raffles, prizes. Dutch Oven dinner served at 7. And also, I didn't mention this, check out some of their e-learning options at the website as well. Some fascinating stuff here, too. rmef.org, Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, for more information. I've posted a QR code for the event this Saturday here in Cache Valley on our Facebook page. And Keri, Ron,